Well, when I try to reflect on everything that's happened as far as this election, I've consciously felt like I've evolved, as a person, and it's not so much more to me about race or economics and things of that such as it is to me about humanity. It's funny how I actually have found myself at a point at my job where I was able to talk to some people who I knew were Trump supporters, and I admit I did vote for Hillary. And even reflecting on the fact that I did vote for Hillary, I might feel that I'm actually voted more so against Donald Trump than I really voted for her, if that makes sense. Because I was voting against the hate, and that I felt like that individual was perpetrating. In regards to how I actually visually see everything that's transpired, I kind of look at the older generation, the ones that grew up in the 50s and the 60s, who were fighting for us, and I kind of feel like they built this scab to kind of protect my generation and provided us an opportunity to hope and dream, about what we could do. In essence of that, I think a lot of us became complacent. We got comfortable and forgot that there were still real issues that weren't resolved. And those issues, as far as this, how I describe the scab, have been picked at year after year after year, and has finally been ripped off and exposed America for some of the things that it really should have addressed years ago. So I feel, as far as my responsibility, I need to be able to take the reins from your generation. You know what I'm saying? It's our time to get out there and march, take on some of the holes or dog bites if we have to secure a future for, my children and my grandchildren. Because in my mind, I'm hoping at that point, then they can be the generation that's the alcohol that's going to purify that sword. And maybe, hopefully, America could be what it should have always, should have been.
I mean, what is the positive behind that? I mean, they said that the racism is gone because we have a black president. Is that hypocrisy? How do you internalize it?
I think it's a lot of hypocrisy. I never believed that the racism was gone when Obama was elected. I mean, I think it was an opportunity for a lot of us to feel as minorities that, yeah, we can make it. We can be that person. But I don't think a lot of us believed in the back of our mind that there would be no more racism.
But a lot of people are saying, give Trump a chance. Just because he's going to be appointing people to his cabinet that have a long racist histories, maybe they can come together and be colorblind and treat everybody equally after they deport all the Mexicans and the Muslims.
Mm-hmm. Well,
how do you internalize that seriously?
I really can't, because growing up, what Mama used to say is, if somebody show you who they are, believe it. And he has shown us, not only through his own mouth watching live television, who he is, but he has shown it in other ways how he's ran his business and discriminated against minorities as far as housing and things like that. I guess at this point, I really don't want to waste my energy trying to think about why he shouldn't be president, more so than finding ways to empower my kids and grandkids and people in my community to hopefully build a coalition, to fight that type of behavior.
So do you think that somewhere along the lines, we have lost sight of that reality in terms of, after the civil rights movement, we stopped doing that? We kept talking, but we never, today there's no galvanization already in place.
Exactly. We stopped doing it.
Now, keeping in mind, the movies that came out in the civil rights era were geared to kill that momentum, to show us that it was cool to be snorting cocaine, and cool to be a pimp, and cool to be slick in all types of ways. You know, I'm talking about Superfly, all those movies in that era. And then when the CIA brought the drugs in and that type of a thing, you know, blacks, some feel, are fighting a battle with their hands tied behind their back. I mean, how do you fight this? I mean, yeah, obviously you fought it and you're winning. You know, what are you instilling in your sons especially?
Well, my thing is, we are never going to even find ourselves in a position to make that change if we don't internally look at ourselves. If I can't look myself in the mirror and even question myself, you know what I'm saying, about my beliefs growing up, because everything that I was taught growing up might not have been right. You know, if I can't look at myself and see that I'm a reflection of somebody who also needs to grow and change, how can we demand that from others?
Speaking of looking at yourself in a reflective way, who did that to you? Your mom, your dad, somebody before you had to already have that spirit within them?
You know, I was pretty much raised by a single mother. I spent a lot of time with my grandfather. So, you know, being that time, having that time with him, and several aunts and uncles. So I really feel like a lot of times I'm a combination of that. But I don't know if you ever have you ever experienced growing up and feeling like there's always this little voice inside you that's driving you and you really don't know, you know, what the purpose is?
It took me 60 years, seriously, to find that, and I found that. Yes, absolutely.
I feel like I'm at that point now where I'm getting to learn what my purpose really is.
So you're saying that adversity at certain times is not really a totally bad thing?
Oh, no, not at all. Adversity, I mean, in a lot of instances, as far as my own life, I feel like it's been good. Because I've learned, you know, what I can make it through. If I didn't have that experience, then everything that happened to me as an adult, I probably wouldn't be able to handle at this point. So, I mean, I call it all joy. You gotta appreciate the good and the bad. I mean, we're constantly growing and evolving as humans. You know, that should never stop.
Well, last thing here, you know, what do you want to say to people who only talk about current events behind closed doors, who are unafraid to go out and tell the world how they feel like you are?
We're at a point now, if you voted, you should be able to speak how you feel. From what I've been experiencing these last few months, I've learned, like I mentioned to you, that I've actually, before, and during, and after the election, I've talked to people where we haven't agreed on a candidate, but surprisingly enough, we agreed on 90% of the issues. And most of the time, if you spend a lot of time with a person, you know where their heart is. So I don't view, you know, someone who voted for Trump as being a racism. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you haven't shown me that, I'm not going to assume just because you voted for this person that that's the case. I'm going to base my decision on how you treat me. So it's sad to say, but even now, a lot of people are still afraid to say, hey, I voted for Donald Trump. And actually, I would like to encourage that conversation more, because I want to understand why you did. What was it that you were going through that you felt that this candidate was going to somehow change your life? So we can start to gather a clearer understanding. Because for me, at the end of the day, I really feel that at some point, people aren't going to be able to choose Democrat or Republican. There won't be no black or white decision. There won't be no Muslim or Christian or gay or straight. It's going to be humanity versus hate. That's where my mind is at this point. And what's going to happen is I think you're going to find people divided, unfortunately, where you might have, you know, a Muslim over here, a Muslim over here, but they don't agree of what life should be for everybody who want to live free and, you know, enjoy life the way they choose.